Red Bull just revealed something in their RB22 that could end this championship before it even properly begins. And we are only days away from the Australian Grand Prix. While everyone was watching lap times in Bahrain, Red Bull was hiding raw pace. Over 2,000 laps completed in testing. 0 major mechanical failures. A Ford power unit running 12 degrees cooler than rivals. And leaked telemetry suggesting up to 0.4 per lap faster in long runs. 0.4 across race distance. But here's where it gets insane. Engine maps showing potential gains still untouched. A blown diffuser upgrade worth nearly half a second. A redesigned front wing targeting slow corner weakness. And straight line speeds reaching over 340 km per hour without energy clipping. If this is real, Ferrari is not chasing Red Bull. Red Bull is setting a trap. And if Australia confirms these numbers, the psychological war of this season could be over before round 1 even finishes. Subscribe now, because what the RB22 just exposed might not just dominate Melbourne. It might redefine the balance of power from day one. Now let's slow this down, because what Red Bull actually did in Bahrain was far more calculated than it looked. They were not chasing headlines. They were not hunting the fastest single lap for social media. They were building something underneath the surface. More than 2,000 laps completed across testing. No major engine failures. No dramatic reliability scares. That alone tells you the Ford power unit is not just quick. It is stable. And stability, at the start of a season, is a weapon. But here is where things begin to shift. Leaked telemetry from long runs suggests the RB22 was roughly 0.4 per lap faster than Ferrari over race simulations. Not in qualifying trim. In race trim. That means tire life. Energy efficiency. Thermal control. And that Ford engine is running approximately 12 degrees cooler than expected under load. Cooler temperatures mean less stress. Less stress means consistent deployment. Consistent deployment means no clipping halfway down the straight. Now imagine that at Albert Park. Long acceleration zones. Heavy braking points. Multiple opportunities for energy recovery and release. If the RB22 avoids clipping in Melbourne heat, that becomes a massive advantage late in each stint. But this is not just about the engine. Red Bull confirmed a Melbourne Evolution package, internally called Spec 1.1. And the centerpiece is the side pod blown diffuser version 2. Deeper undercut. More aggressive airflow channeling. Hot exhaust gases feeding the diffuser more efficiently. That alone is estimated to be worth around 0.2 in medium speed corners. Albert Park has plenty of those. But they did not stop there. The front wing has been redesigned to address understeer in slow corners. New main plane geometry. Sharper flap shaping. Better rotation into tight entries. Estimated gain in Sector 1 alone is roughly 1.5. That directly targets one of Verstappen's few complaints from testing. Add airbox winglets and mirror refinements that increase rear stability by about 5%. Then extend the rear crash structure to improve diffuser expansion, gaining another 1/10 in traction zones. Stack all of that together. Side pods. Front wing. Airflow refinements. Diffuser extension. The total projected gain approaches half a second per lap. Half a second at race 1. That is not incremental development. That is domination potential. But here is the tension. Verstappen admitted the car can still feel awkward in tight hairpins. Melbourne has those. If the balance is not perfectly dialed in, aggressive throttle application could hurt rear tires over a long stint. And that is where Ferrari and Mercedes will look for weakness. So when the lights go out in Australia, watch carefully. Does the RB22 rotate cleanly in slow corners? Does it maintain top speed without visible clipping late in the race? Does the rear stay planted under braking when the tires begin to fade? Because if the answers are yes, then Red Bull did not just bring an upgrade. They brought a statement. And that statement could echo through the entire season before round 1 even ends. But now we get to the part that could genuinely tilt the balance in Melbourne. Because Australia is not just about raw pace. It is about control under pressure. Albert Park is deceptive. It looks smooth on television. But the surface evolves rapidly. Grip changes. Wind direction shifts. Rear stability becomes unpredictable late in a stint. And this is exactly where Red Bull's upgrade philosophy becomes dangerous. The blown diffuser version 2 is not just about adding downforce. It is about adding stable downforce. By channeling hot exhaust gases more efficiently into the rear floor expansion, the RB22 generates load without dramatically increasing drag. That means Verstappen can apply throttle earlier on exit. Earlier throttle equals better momentum onto the straight. Momentum in Melbourne is everything. Now combine that with the revised front wing. One of the few weaknesses in testing was slight understeer in slower corners. The new mainplane geometry directly targets that issue. Sharper rotation on entry. More bite at low speed. Which means the car does not hesitate before committing to throttle. And when both ends of the car work together, confidence multiplies. But here is the strategic layer most fans overlook. Red Bull appears to have optimized this package for Sunday, not Saturday. Long-run degradation in Bahrain simulations was roughly 0.1 seconds per lap. That is extremely controlled tire wear. If Melbourne becomes a one-stop race, the RB22 could stretch stints longer than rivals. Longer stints reduce pit stop risk. Reduce traffic exposure. Reduce strategic vulnerability. And then there is the engine itself. The Ford power unit running significantly cooler under stress means less thermal limitation. Less limitation means more consistent hybrid deployment. No sudden clipping on the longest straight. No late stint power fade. If Ferrari attacks early and overheats tires, Red Bull can wait. Manage. Then strike. But this is not without risk. Verstappen admitted the balance can feel sensitive in tight hairpins. Melbourne has multiple low-speed rotation points. If rear stability drops even slightly under aggressive throttle, tire life becomes fragile. And Ferrari will be watching that closely. So the opening laps in Australia become critical. If Red Bull leads into turn 1 and controls pace, the race unfolds on their terms. If they qualify slightly behind but maintain stronger long-run speed, strategy becomes a weapon. And here is the psychological shift. If Red Bull confirms a half-second upgrade advantage at race 1, the rest of the grid is immediately under pressure. Development programs accelerate. Budget cap decisions become urgent. Teams react instead of dictate. That is how dominance begins. Not with one victory, but with one statement. So when the lights go out in Melbourne, listen carefully. Watch the RB22 through Sector 2. Observe the throttle application out of turn 11. Notice whether top speed remains stable in the final laps of a stint. Because hidden in those details is the answer. Did Red Bull simply refine a strong car? Or did they just reveal the foundation of another season of control before the first checkered flag has even fallen? And now we arrive at the moment that truly matters. Because upgrades are one thing. Execution under real race pressure is something else entirely. Australia is unpredictable. The track evolves rapidly across the weekend. Grip increases. Temperatures fluctuate. Wind direction shifts through the afternoon. And the RB22's new package will be exposed in conditions that testing could never fully simulate. If the Ford engine continues to run cooler under Melbourne heat, Red Bull gains something priceless. Consistency. Consistency means the hybrid system can deploy aggressively without fear of thermal shutdown. It means no sudden loss of electrical boost halfway down the straight. It means Verstappen can attack, lap after lap, without managing energy like a limitation. But if the cooling advantage disappears under sustained race conditions, the entire rhythm changes. Now think about tire management. Bahrain simulations suggested extremely low degradation, around 0.1 seconds per lap. That is elite control. If that translates to Albert Park, Red Bull could extend the first stint beyond what rivals expect. And strategy is where races are won quietly. Stay out longer. Switch to clean air. Force Ferrari to react. Pressure builds from there. But here is where it becomes psychological. If the RB22 shows dominant race pace on Sunday, even if pole remains competitive, the message to the grid is clear. Red Bull is optimized for the long game. And championships are not won on Saturday. They are won on Sunday. Now imagine the scenario. Lap 10 in Melbourne. Ferrari pushing hard to maintain gap. Red Bull sitting comfortably within striking distance. Engine temperatures stable. Tire degradation minimal.